Are you tired of feeling like you're always one step behind when it comes to money? Ever wondered why it seems like the less you have, the more it costs you? Well, today, we're diving deep into the money paradox, why lack of money can cost you more. Get ready to uncover the surprising ways scarcity impacts our daily lives. Ever found yourself struggling to make ends meet, forced to prioritize immediate needs over long-term financial health? Or maybe you felt the frustration of stretching every dollar while still feeling like you're coming up short. Don't worry, we've got answers. In this video, we'll explore everything from the hidden costs of banking to the challenges of accessing healthcare on a tight budget. Plus, we'll share tips on breaking free from the cycle of poverty and building a brighter financial future. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's unravel the mysteries of the money paradox together. All right, guys, let's get started by uncovering the difficulties with day-to-day expenses. You know, the stuff that seems to suck the money right out of our wallets faster than we can earn it. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, ready to tackle the day, but then reality hits. You've got bills to pay, groceries to buy, and maybe even a leaky faucet that needs fixing. But here's the kicker. When money's tight, it's like playing a never-ending game of financial Tetris. You've got to figure out which pieces to prioritize just to keep the whole thing from collapsing. And speaking of priorities, let's talk about healthcare. Now, we all know it's important to take care of ourselves, but when funds are low, it's easy to put off that trip to the doctor. After all, who has the time or money to spare for a checkup when there are more pressing needs on the table? But here's the thing. By putting off those essential tasks today, we're setting ourselves up for even bigger expenses down the road. It's like ignoring that weird noise your car makes until it breaks down on the side of the road, costly and completely avoidable. Now, let's talk about time, our most precious resource. When you're constantly scrimping and saving, every little task seems to take twice as long. Whether it's hunting for the best deals or stretching every dollar to its breaking point, the struggle is real. And let's not forget about the constant battle between quality and affordability. Sure, that fancy gadget might seem like a great investment, but when you're on a tight budget, every purchase feels like a gamble. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You're searching for that perfect balance between value and cost without breaking the bank. So there you have it, guys. The daily grind of trying to make ends meet in a world that seems determined to keep us on our toes. But with a little bit of planning and a whole lot of perseverance, we can navigate these financial waters like seasoned sailors. Now let's talk about something we all deal with. The high cost of basic products and food items. Now you might be thinking, what's the big deal? We all need to eat, right? Absolutely. But here's where it gets interesting. Have you ever stopped to consider how lack of money can actually end up costing you more in the long run? It's all part of understanding the money paradox we're diving into today. Picture this. You're living in a neighborhood where affordable stores are few and far between. You're practically forced to shop at higher-priced stores, which means you're shelling out more cash for the same items. It's like trying to fill up your gas tank at a station with skyrocketing prices. You're left with less money in your pocket for other essentials. And let's not forget about the challenges of bulk purchasing when money's tight. Sure, buying in bulk can save you money in the long run, but when you're scraping by paycheck to paycheck, it's not always an option. It's like trying to buy a year's supply of toilet paper when you can barely afford a roll. Talk about a tough situation. Now let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, inflation. As prices continue to rise, our wallets feel the squeeze. Suddenly, that loaf of bread you used to buy for $1 now costs twice as much. It's like playing a game of financial whack-a-mole. No matter how hard you try to keep up, something always seems to knock you down. And let's not overlook the hassle of transportation when it comes to grocery shopping. For low-income individuals without reliable access to transportation, getting to the store can be a logistical nightmare. It's like trying to navigate a maze with no map. You're bound to hit a dead end or two along the way. So there you have it. The high cost of basic products and food items isn't just about what you see at the checkout counter. It's about the hidden expenses and challenges that come with living paycheck to paycheck. All right, let's dive into the world of financial and banking problems. Now, I know talking about finances can make some people break out in a cold sweat, but stick with me. We're going to break it down into bite-sized pieces. So here's the deal. When you're living on a tight budget, every penny counts. But did you know that there are sneaky fees hiding in plain sight when you use traditional banks? Yep, I'm talking about those pesky overdraft fees and sky-high interest rates that can drain your account faster than you can imagine. And let's not forget about access to credit. See, if you've had a rocky financial past, getting a loan can feel like trying to squeeze blood from a stone. It's frustrating, to say the least. But fear not, my friends, because there are alternatives out there. From credit unions to online banks, there are options that might just save you a pretty penny. Sure, they might come with their own set of costs. But hey, at least you won't be losing a lot of money every time you swipe your card. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Financial literacy. See, a lot of people don't realize just how important it is to understand the ins and outs of money management. It's like trying to drive a car without knowing how to read road signs. You're bound to get lost. But here's the good news. There are resources out there to help you navigate the murky waters of personal finance. Whether it's budgeting apps or financial literacy courses, knowledge is power, my friends. And speaking of power, let's talk about the power of community. See, when you're struggling to make ends meet, sometimes all it takes is a helping hand from your neighbors. Whether it's sharing tips on how to save money or pooling resources to tackle big expenses, we're stronger together. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far and want more topics like this, comment the word money paradox so I know. Now let's dive into the health and well-being side of the money paradox. Let me introduce you to Sarah. She's not just a fictional character. She represents countless individuals navigating the challenging waters of financial strain. Sarah's story begins with a struggle familiar to many, putting food on the table. Picture her pantry, shelves lined with cheap processed foods because that's all her budget allows. While these items may fill their stomachs, they lack the essential nutrients needed to thrive. It's similar to trying to power through a marathon with lead weights tied to your shoes. You may reach the finish line, but at what cost to your health? Now, let's zoom in on healthcare, or the lack of it. Sarah's son, Timmy, suffers from asthma, a condition that requires regular medication. But with limited funds, Sarah finds herself facing a heart-wrenching dilemma. Does she sacrifice essentials to afford Timmy's treatment, or does she gamble with his health? It's like walking a tightrope without a safety net. One wrong move, and the consequences could be dire. But the impact of financial strain doesn't stop at physical health. It takes a toll on mental well-being, too. Imagine carrying the weight of financial worry on your shoulders every single day. That's the reality for Sarah and millions like her. It's like trudging through life with a backpack full of rocks, each one representing a different financial burden. Eventually, the weight becomes unbearable, and something's got to give. Now, let's paint a broader picture. Studies have shown a clear link between socioeconomic status and health outcomes. Simply put, those with lower incomes are more likely to experience chronic illnesses and shorter lifespans. It's a harsh reality that highlights the systemic inequalities woven into our society's fabric. But here's the silver lining: it doesn't have to be this way. By addressing the root causes of financial strain and investing in accessible healthcare and support systems, we can create a more equitable future for all. It's about recognizing that health is not just a privilege for the wealthy, it's a fundamental human right. All right, now let's talk about lack of opportunities and investment. Now, this one's a bit like trying to find your way in a dark room without a flashlight, challenging to say the least. Picture this: you're juggling bills, trying to make ends meet, and the idea of long-term investments. It feels like a distant dream. It's not that you don't want to plan for the future, it's just that the present seems to demand all your attention. It's like being stuck in a game where the rules keep changing, and you're just trying to keep up. And here's where the money paradox really kicks in. Without opportunities for economic growth, breaking free from the cycle of financial struggle becomes nearly impossible. It's like trying to climb a mountain with no footholds. You're constantly slipping backward, no matter how hard you try to push forward. Now let's sprinkle in a little truth bomb. Having even a small financial cushion can make a world of difference. It's like having a safety net to catch you when you stumble. Whether it's setting aside a few bucks each paycheck or exploring alternative income streams, every little bit counts. But here's the kicker. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, time becomes your most precious commodity. You're so busy just trying to keep your head above water that planning for the future feels like a luxury you can't afford. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces, frustrating and downright maddening. But fear not, dear adventurers in the money maze. There are ways to navigate these choppy waters. From seeking out mentorship and guidance to exploring new skills and opportunities, there's always a path forward, even if it's not always clear at first glance. And here's where the title of our video comes into play: Why Lack of Money Can Cost You More. It's a paradox indeed, because while scarcity might seem like the root of the problem, it's often the lack of opportunities that keeps us trapped in the cycle of financial struggle. So let's flip the script and rewrite our financial futures together. After all, with a little determination and a whole lot of grit, there's no mountain too high to climb. Now let's dive into a shady world where desperation often leads to disaster, scams, and exploitation. Picture this: you're strapped for cash, bills piling up like nobody's business. Suddenly, those flashy ads promising quick cash or easy loans start to look mighty tempting. But hold your horses, because behind those glittering promises often lurks a world of trouble. Take high-interest loans and pawn shops, for example. Sure, they might offer a temporary fix, but at what cost? Before you know it, you're drowning in fees and interest rates that make your head spin. It's like trying to plug a leak with a Band-Aid. Sure, it might stop the flow for a second, but it won't hold up for long. And let's talk housing. Without that initial security deposit, finding a place to call home can feel like an impossible task. That's when you start hearing whispers of guaranteed housing or no credit check required. But here's the harsh truth. Those promises often come with strings attached. Before you know it, you're caught in a web of deceit with no way out. But it's not all doom and gloom. By staying informed and keeping your wits about you, you can avoid falling prey to these predatory practices. Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So do your research, ask questions, and don't be afraid to walk away if something doesn't feel right. And here's a pro tip. Build yourself a safety net. Whether it's setting aside a little extra cash each month or reaching out to local organizations for support, having a backup plan can make all the difference. It's like having an umbrella on a rainy day. You might not need it every day, but when the storm hits, you'll be glad you have it. Now, let's talk about something that hits close to home for many people out there: social exclusion and lack of support networks. You know, that feeling of being left out or looked down upon because of your financial situation? Yeah, it's rough. Imagine trying to make ends meet while feeling like you're constantly fighting an uphill battle. It's like trying to swim against the tide, with everyone else coasting along effortlessly. But here's the thing, you're not alone. Far from it, actually. See, the thing about tough times is that they have a way of bringing people together. Whether it's friends, family, or even strangers who've been in your shoes, there's always someone willing to lend a helping hand. And let me tell you, that support can make all the difference. It's like having a safety net beneath you when you're walking on a tightrope. You might stumble, but you know you won't fall too far. But here's the kicker, not everyone has access to that support network. For some people, reaching out for help feels like admitting defeat, like they're somehow less deserving of assistance. And that's where the real tragedy lies, in the silent struggle of those who suffer in silence. But it doesn't have to be that way. See, breaking the cycle of poverty isn't just about throwing money at the problem. It's about building a community where everyone has a seat at the table, where no one gets left behind. And sure, it's going to take some work. It's going to require empathy, understanding, and maybe even a little bit of discomfort. But trust me when I say this, it'll be worth it. Because when we lift each other up, when we extend a helping hand to those in need, we're not just changing individual lives, we're changing the world. So let's be the change we wish to see. Let's tear down those walls of social exclusion and build bridges instead, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. And hey, who knows? Maybe one day we'll look back on these struggles and see them not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow, to learn, and to become better versions of ourselves. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep reaching out, keep lending a hand, and keep building a brighter future for all. Because that's what it's all about, isn't it? Making the world a little bit brighter, one act of kindness at a time. And that's all for today, guys. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the money paradox, why lack of money can cost you more. Remember, even when times are tough, there's always a silver lining. So keep your chin up, stay positive, and keep striving for better days ahead. Remember, the purpose of this video is to broaden your horizons in the realm of investing. It's not about handing you a ready-to-eat financial meal, but about teaching you how to cook one yourself. Investing comes with its share of risks and uncertainties, so it's crucial to wear your research hat and consult with qualified professionals before making any financial decisions. Keep in mind, past performance in investments is like last year's weather forecast. It doesn't necessarily predict what's going to happen tomorrow. Always weigh the risks and tread carefully when putting your hard-earned money at stake. If you found this video helpful, there's more where that came from. Now, if you found this video helpful, I highly recommend watching my next video, which is the perfect complement to this one. Thank you for joining us today. And don't forget, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement is like applause for our efforts, and it motivates us to bring even more valuable content your way. So feel free to drop a comment below. I appreciate your support, and I see you in my next video.